My brother asked me to be his baby's guardian, but when I demanded a DNA test, the truth about his wife shattered our family forever.
I, a 28-year-old female, have an older brother, a 30-year-old male.
Around 2 weeks ago, he asked me to be the legal guardian of his son. His son is just 6 months old. My brother visited me 2 weeks ago and told me that he and his wife wanted me to be his legal guardian because his job required him to move to another city. His wife, a 29-year-old female, spends most of her time in the hospital for her chemo treatments. My brother cannot reject this offer either to stay back here because it pays more than his current job, and he desperately needs money to pay for his wife's treatments, as she was diagnosed with stage 2 liver cancer last month. So, he worked out an arrangement with his in-laws where they will be the ones looking after his wife while he works out of state for 5 days and comes back on the weekends. But they are also kind of aged and will not be able to handle taking care of both his wife and his son. So, he wanted me to take over the duties of his son. We have no other family apart from each other, so I am the only person he could turn to, which is why it was really difficult for me to say no at all. Both our parents passed away when we were in our early 20s, and we have been on our own ever since. My brother works in marketing, and I am a high school teacher, so it is not exactly like we are rich. I am too busy and tired to take on any additional responsibilities like looking after my nephew. I also could not just say no to my brother because we are all we have, and it would break my heart if he got mad at me over this. There was also another reason that I was kind of skeptical to agree to this legal guardianship, and that was because of all the rumors and gossip I had heard about my sister-in-law. We live in a relatively small town, and news travels fast. So, a couple of years back, I think before my brother even got married, I heard from one of my coworkers that one of her cousins had gotten into a lot of legal trouble over a paternity fraud that she had pulled off and was now being sued by her husband whom she had been fooling. And even though people were not really sure of it, there was one name that kept popping up when they were gossiping about this, and that was my present sister-in-law's name. I am really not sure how exactly she was involved or to what extent, but I did know that she was involved somehow, and she had helped them cover it up for a few years after their child was born. Their son was almost 5 years old when that guy's wife, my sister-in-law's best friend, insisted that they get married so she could quit her job and live at home with their son. His mother suspected that something was off because of how hard she was pushing her decision, and that is how the paternity test finally happened. And we also learned that apparently my now sister-in-law had played a huge role in this fraud by putting her best friend in touch with her cousin who worked at the hospital and would periodically take money from her best friend and her unsuspecting husband to make sure this was all kept under wraps. So, essentially, she and her best friend were fooling the poor guy for money, and while her best friend got into legal trouble for it, she walked away scot-free. Almost 2 years ago, my brother told me that he had met a woman, and it happened to be the same woman whom I had heard about in this paternity scam gossip. I told him about it back then and warned him, but he was dead sure that she had nothing to do with it, and he trusted her, not the rumors and gossip he heard about her. I did not know what to say to him, so I did not interfere. And so, within a year, they got married and had a baby. I did not say anything then because I did not want to disturb their perfectly happy marriage. And then last month, she was diagnosed with stage 2 liver cancer, which is why she has been in and out of hospital for some time now. I have not said anything about what I heard from my friends back then, but when my brother said that they wanted me to be their son's legal guardian, I decided that I did not want to get caught up in anything right now. And so, I told him that I would only agree to legal guardianship if he got a paternity test done. He did not like the implications of what I was saying and said that I was needlessly doubting his wife even though they had been together for so many years now. But I stuck by what I said and told him that I was not going to be his son's legal guardian if he did not get the paternity test done first, because I really did not want any unnecessary trouble in case there really was something that she was hiding still. So, after a lot of arguing, he finally gave in and told me that he would get it done. Then I did not hear from him for 2 whole weeks, but all of a sudden, days back, he called me and told me that I no longer needed to sign anything and that he was staying here. I was confused because he just canceled the move out of the blue, so I asked him what changed, and he told me to mind my own business and then hung up on me. That really threw me off because my brother was a generally nice and polite person, so I had absolutely no idea what changed in these past few days. I could not even ask anyone else because the only person who was likely to know what was going on with him was his wife, and I did not want to speak to her. So, I waited for a day for my brother to come around on his own and tell me what was going on, but he did not. So, I did what I had to and called my sister-in-law instead for some answers. She answered as soon as I called, and when she did not waste a second before she started screaming at me and accusing me of ruining her marriage. I do not know why she said any of that, but one thing is for sure, something awful has happened, and I am afraid that it has to do with the paternity test. I had only been hellbent on my brother getting the test done because I wanted to buy myself some time to think about what I wanted to do about the guardianship, and also I did not want to invite trouble just in case he was not really the parent. But I am guessing that there was something that his wife had been hiding, and my insistence on the paternity test might have opened some can of worms, because otherwise I could not think of a single reason why my brother would make such a decision. I feel awful because just for my own selfishness, I potentially ruined my brother's marriage, and it does not help that his wife is suffering from cancer as well. Am I the asshole for insisting that my brother get a paternity test done before I agreed to be the legal guardian of his baby? I am glad to know that not everyone is judging me for wanting to put myself before anyone else. I spoke to my brother today, and he told me everything that had happened in the past 2 weeks after I asked him to get the paternity test done. He told me that after he met with me, he went straight home and told his wife what I had asked for. He had assumed it would be a pretty straightforward conversation since he did not think his wife would disagree, but she was very against it, and it did not make sense to him. She said that it was insulting that I wanted him to get a paternity test done because that just meant that I still believed that she was a scammer, and even worse, she had been scamming her own husband. So, she was against the whole idea of the paternity test and wanted him to look for alternatives, but her reaction to the suggestion of getting a paternity test done was so overly emotional that even he began to suspect that something was off about her behavior. And after a few days of wondering what to do, he finally gave in and decided to get the paternity test done without telling his wife about it. He did not know what to expect but was secretly hoping that he would not find out anything that he did not want to. Unfortunately, I think everyone knows by now what he must have found out. My brother and his son were not a match. He was so shocked by the results the first time that he got the test done a second time just to make sure that there had been no mistakes, and even the second time around, the result remained the same. He was in shock about what he had found out since this meant that his marriage was a lie, but he had no idea how to confront his wife. He had never paid any heed to the rumors he had heard about her, not even when I had warned him, but now as it turns out, everyone else had been right, and he had been the one who was dead wrong about his wife. A few days after he got the results, he decided to finally confront his wife. At first, she tried to deny it, but there was no running away from the truth anymore when he knew for a fact that he is not the father of the son he had been raising for so long. After a while, she finally confessed to him that a while ago, when they had just gotten married, she had had an affair with one of her friends when he happened to be out of town, and that is how she got pregnant. She never came clean about it either because she felt like that was going to ruin their marriage for good, and once she got pregnant, she knew that she did not want to be with anyone else apart from my brother. My sister-in-law also spilled the beans on the first paternity scam she pulled off by revealing that she had been the one who put her best friend in touch with her cousin who used to work at the hospital back then, and her friend's husband never would have found out either if he had not gotten another paternity test done independently from a different hospital. So, whatever people had been saying about her was true. I cannot believe that in spite of knowing the consequences of cheating and lying, she still went through and put my brother through the same thing. It is unbelievable and disgusting to say the least, and now I am really glad that I pressured my brother into getting a paternity test done, or else he might not have been able to find out about any of this. She did not have a job when she married my brother, and after she got married, she decided that she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, so it had been my brother who had been supporting her every step of the way. So, it was not the fact that she was finally sure of him that made her stay with him and pick her marriage over affairs, but the fact that she literally did not have anyone else to go to once she got pregnant. My brother thinks that that is the real reason she stayed, and I agree with him. If she could cheat on him 1 year into their marriage, then she did not really love him, and the only thing that made her stay with my brother was the fact that he was willing to look past her history, trust her implicitly, and provide for her without questioning her. She only cared about herself, and while my brother is still struggling to come to terms with that, I am not. I had always known that my sister-in-law was not the most trustworthy person but had kept it all to myself since I did not want to stir up any unnecessary trouble in my brother's life, and he seemed to be really in love with her. And the fact that they were pregnant within a year of their marriage, I could not say anything that could potentially mess up their marriage when they were about to have a child together. And once my nephew was born, there was no way I was going to talk crap about my sister-in-law because that would inevitably end up with me and my brother never speaking again. So, I stayed silent, but the truth was bound to come out someday. I just regret that I was not the one to stop this from happening. My brother has filed for divorce and full custody of his son. His wife is devastated and insists that she really does love him now, but there is no taking back what she did. I, for one, am happy that he has made the decision to leave, even if it is after so many years. The only thing I feel a little bad about is that she is a cancer patient, and this is coming at a really bad time for her, but my brother deserved better, and I will stand by that. I just found out from my brother that the friend that she cheated on him with and his son's real father had still been actively involved in their lives up until recently. He came over for a few drinks in the evening today and was venting to me when he told me about this spectacular bit of information. This man had been an old friend of his wife's, and he had had feelings for her since forever, but then my sister-in-law had chosen to marry my brother because she felt that this friend of hers was not stable financially, which just meant that he was not well off enough for her. She told him about this friend of hers long back when they started dating initially, but he had never suspected a thing because that is how much he trusted her. When she told him the truth, she claimed that they had been together only once after their marriage just because they were drunk and emotional, but he did not know if anything she said was true anymore. My brother said that he had been an idiot to trust her in the first place and regretted spending so many years of his life fighting against anyone who said a word against her because eventually it all turned out to be true, and she was nothing more than someone who was after whatever little money he had, and he was the only guy foolish enough to trust her despite her reputation. I felt like crap about myself after he left because if I had just pushed him a little harder and forced him not to marry this woman, then maybe he would not be in this awful situation at all, but here we are. It is disgusting that she even remained in touch with the man she cheated on her husband with. Listening to him talk about how his wife would often invite this guy and his wife over for dinner and they would all sit and chat like old friends while he raised this other man's son was sickening, and I just had to listen to him, but this was his reality. I really cannot imagine what my brother must be going through right now, and I just keep thinking about how different things would have been if I had tried to force him to see her reality before he got married to her. It sucks that he is having to go through all of this just because he chose to love someone who did not deserve any of it. I do not even know what will become of this relationship with his son now because this is all bound to take a toll on him mentally. He has been living at home with his son, and his wife has moved in with her parents, but she keeps visiting every day to ask for forgiveness and convince him not to leave her. It must be crazy difficult for him to say no to a literal cancer patient after so many years of togetherness. I know he still loves her despite what she did to him and all the lies she told him throughout their marriage and her pregnancy, and I could hear it in the way he was reminiscing today about the good times he had had with his wife. I wish I could do something to help my brother, but I cannot. My hands are tied. The most I can do for him is to offer to babysit my nephew because he is taking up more work and responsibilities in his workplace so that he earns more than whatever he is making now and can give his son the life he deserves. I do not think he will get full custody of his son given the circumstances. I bet the court will want to let their kid spend as much time as he can with his mother if something unfortunate happens to her. It is unlikely that she will be able to fight the cancer longer than she already has, and as far as I know, her condition has been steadily worsening for the past few months. To be honest, at this point, I do not even know what to feel about anyone involved in this situation, including myself. I tried my best to warn my brother back when he was dating my sister-in-law, but he did not listen, so it is not like I am in the wrong here either, but I also cannot just shake off the guilt. All I can say for sure is that every single adult involved here has failed my nephew and made a complete mess of things, including me. I just hope we are all able to come out of this as better people now. It has been a week and a half since my brother last visited, and he has been really caught up with work. He dropped by today and requested me to watch my nephew for a couple of hours as he had to go visit his lawyer urgently, and I agreed because this was the least I could do for him when he was in such a state. Once he came back, he told me that his wife had told her friend about who was the real father of her son, and he is willing to fight for custody as well if my brother does not agree to his wife's terms. He told me that she is still willing to patch things up with him and even tried to play the cancer card by saying that she would not even be around for much longer probably, so he should just let her spend the last few months of her life peacefully instead of being so selfish and disrupting it all with legal complications. She does not even understand that the custody battle is not a way to get back at her but is just to ensure that even if she does pass away, her so-called friend is not able to just swoop in and take his child away from him just because he is his biological father. Only a truly selfish human being would imagine that this is all about them. The only thing that my brother is doing to get back at her, as she says, is the divorce, and that is just because he respects himself too much to spend any more time with someone who has done nothing but use him for these past couple of years. They had a really bad argument about the same a couple of days ago when she dropped by to see her son and talk to him yet again so that she could persuade him to stop the legal proceedings. When he told her that he was not going to change his mind, she got mad and said those things, and the situation just got worse. He believes that she got her friend involved just to retaliate, and I agree with him. I do not even know what her friend's wife is going to say about all of this. They have only been married for 4 months according to what my brother told me, and this is some insane crap that they are getting into. I am grateful that my nephew himself is blissfully unaware of any of this, and even today he seemed as happy as ever. I hope that he stays this way forever because the poor kid really should not have to deal with so much from such a young age. My sister-in-law visited me today to see my brother. He had been here to drop the baby off for a while, and he had been avoiding her for a few days, so she turned up at my house because she knew he was likely to come here. I tried to tell her to go away, but she looked so sickly and weak that I was having a really hard time turning someone like that away. So, my brother took over for me, and instead of turning her away, he invited her into the house and told her to make it quick because he also had to leave for work soon. I was in the room with them, and the entire conversation happened right in front of me, which made me feel like I was intruding on something really personal. My sister-in-law was pleading with my brother to let her have joint custody, and she had somehow managed to get rid of her friend since she did not even want to involve him in the first place, but her emotions got the better of her, and she ended up telling him the truth, which is why he got involved. She said that she had made her peace with the divorce and was not going to contest it, but she desperately needed to see her baby because her cancer was just getting worse, and it had already progressed to stage 3 according to what her doctors told her this week. So, she needed to spend as much time as she could with her son. I stood by, watching my brother's face, expecting a flat-out refusal given the anguish etched into his expression. Yet, to my surprise, he spoke with measured calm, his voice steady despite the storm of emotions brewing beneath. He told his wife that, at this juncture, the most he could offer was supervised visits with their son. He explained, with a quiet resolve, that her months of deception had left deep wounds. Her illness, while serious, couldn't erase the betrayal or make it easier for him to simply move forward. His pain, though invisible to the eye, was no less real, no less heavy. He had spent so long defending her against those who labeled her a gold digger, a manipulator, words that stung him as much as they condemned her. He had fought for her, stood by her side, only to discover that the accusations held truth. She had cheated, disregarding his loyalty, and now, for his own healing and for the well-being of their young son, he needed to let her go. It was time to rebuild, to start anew, free from the weight of her lies. My sister-in-law's face tightened as his words sank in. She clearly wasn't pleased, her lips pressed into a thin line, her eyes flickering with frustration. But my brother stood firm, his tone unwavering. He laid out her options plainly: accept supervised visits once a week or face him in court. The air grew heavy with silence, the weight of the moment pressing down on everyone in the room. After what felt like an eternity, she relented, her voice low as she agreed to the supervised visits. She acknowledged, almost grudgingly, that it was likely the same outcome a court would mandate. Now, all that remained was to formalize the arrangement legally, a step that would cement the boundaries of their fractured relationship. The divorce, however, was inevitable, a final severing of the bond that had once held them together. As I watched this exchange unfold, my heart ached for my brother and my nephew. The road ahead was uncertain, shrouded in the fog of what-ifs. My brother had carried the burden of this betrayal for so long, yet he faced it with a strength I hadn't fully appreciated until now. His decision wasn't born of spite but of necessity, a way to protect his son and himself from further pain. I couldn't help but admire his clarity, his ability to hold fast to what was right for them both, even when it meant closing the door on someone he had once loved deeply. For my nephew, so young and unaware of the complexities swirling around him, I hoped this choice would pave the way for a stable, loving future. As for my sister-in-law, her path forward would be her own to navigate, shaped by the consequences of her actions. Looking ahead, I find myself clinging to hope. The future for my brother and nephew is unwritten, and while the scars of this ordeal may linger, I pray they find peace and joy in the days to come. I envision my brother rediscovering his laughter, his spirit unburdened by the weight of deceit. For my nephew, I dream of a childhood filled with warmth and security, surrounded by those who cherish him. The legalities will soon be settled, the supervised visits arranged, but what matters most is the healing that will follow. I hold fast to the belief that, in time, the pain of this chapter will fade, giving way to brighter moments and new beginnings.